Wolf, 776 U.S. soldiers wounded in Iraq last month, the highest monthly total in 2 years. So far, this month is looking even worse. 300 more Americans were wounded in just the first week of October. Since the United States invaded Iraq, 20,000 plus American soldiers have been wounded. And some experts say the number of wounded is actually a better reflection on how intense the fighting is than the number killed. And that's because medical and technological advances help people survive today who would have died in earlier wars. Nevertheless, our young people continue to die in Iraq, a lot of them. 31 U.S. soldiers killed in Iraq in just the first 9 days of October. That brings the total number of U.S. military deaths in Iraq to 2,745. Today in Baghdad, there was a mass kidnapping of Iraqi soldiers at a military checkpoint. Attackers shot and killed the brother of Iraq's vice president. Iraqi police found another 35 bodies in Baghdad yesterday, some of them showing signs of torture. More than 250 bodies have been found in similar conditions in the capital city alone over the last few weeks. So here's the question. What should the U.S. do about the sharp rise in casualties in Iraq?
Well, people back home need to realise that US forces are simply unpopular in this country. They have been since the very beginning. In the wake of the invasion, people said, OK, you remove Saddam's regime, and almost immediately they were then asking, so when are you leaving? And Middle Iraq, the ordinary people of this country, in the beginning, they gave the US forces and the US mission a chance. They were looking for prosperity, development, reconstruction, and a whole new way. But they said, I gave you 1 year, I gave you 2 years, I've given you 3. It's gotten worse, not better, and I still have no services.
Right, and in
more evidence tonight that the U.S. strategy in Iraq is not working, that the political violence is worsening and the country is slipping further into civil war. Citing what he calls the exponential rise in the number of deaths, both U.S. and Iraqi, along with the failure of the government of Prime Minister Nouri al-Maliki to disarm the warring militias, Republican Senator John Warner is sounding a dire warning. While he still has hope, it's fading fast.
I assure you, in 2 or 3 months, if this thing hasn't come to fruition, and if this level of violence is not under control and this government able to function, I think it's a responsibility of our government internally to determine, is there a change of course that we should take?
Just back from meeting with Iraqi officials and U.S. commanders in Baghdad, Warner is giving voice to what many inside and outside the Pentagon are coming to believe. Namely, the U.S. strategy of standing down as Iraqi forces stand up is failing.
This change that the senator is talking about is long overdue. We have no business occupying central Iraq. It has been enormously wasteful. The change that's indicated is departure at the earliest opportunity.
But even as Warner says the situation is, in his words, drifting sideways, he argues withdrawal would simply turn the Iraqi oil fields into a treasury for the world terrorist movement. And he expressed continued faith in U.S. commanders.
We've just got to stand behind them and give those military operations the time needed to succeed.
Warner's downbeat assessment comes as an analysis by a respected military thinker concludes Iraq is already in a state of limited civil war and questions whether Iraqi forces can ever do the job. Progress is slow or faltering in each of the areas necessary to make Iraqi force development successful, writes Anthony Cordesman of CSIS. Plans for significant troop reductions in 2006 have failed. Troop reductions need to be put on hold indefinitely, he says, and the present odds of success are, at best, even. So what's gone wrong? Well, Senator John Warner blames himself, along with former CENTCOM commander General Tommy Franks, for not asking the right questions about Iraq's history and culture, questions, he says, that would have allowed them to anticipate how difficult the political divide in Iraq would be and how difficult it would be to transition to democracy.
وقفوا على سمع الزمان وأعلنوا الزحف ماض رغم كل تواني قاموا رباة كالرعود وحرروا أمجادهم في صفحة الأزمان أمجادهم في صفحة الأزمان يتهافتون